Hello. Welcome. You early. I thought when I said it at 10 and I said go live, that it would go live at 10. But no, it went live instantly. So I'm live at 9:58. So I'm not doing anything until Coof Jackson gets here. If he misses it again, that's because he's a loser, apparently. So I haven't moved a thing, as you guys can see, since the last episode. I figured I might as well just leave it at that point when we got back to it. And, we're going to take it to the next step. One step beyond. Just came here from a Salties re-stream. Oh, cool. Cool. I'm sure he was ranting about the U-panel situation, especially that Arma 3 footage, video game footage. Like, did it fool anybody for a second? Like, I instantly knew before anybody had a chance to editorialize about it. I said, that's video game footage. So instantly recognizable. You can tell because it's too well shot, too cinematic. That's the problem. Too cinematic. All right. No. Rumham's here. We're gonna have to kick Coof Jackson out of the club, even though we just started it. We have to send a message. We have to send a message to the slackers and the backtrackers. Yeah. Say you're a fan, but once again, you miss it. Chris, good. Steady Eddie, Caleb. It's just 10. It's only 10 now. Maybe he's thinking, he's expecting it to be, wouldn't start till 10. So. I can't touch it yet. I can't touch the sword yet. Hurry up, Coof. Slacker. Holding things up. Bringing up the rear again. It's all the way in Canada. It takes a long time for the internet to get to them. Got a route halfway around the world. Through every single Starlink, Skynet satellite there is. All 1,500 of them or whatever the hell it is. Coof messes this up. All right, that's it. Coof missed it. He'll catch it in reruns. No big deal. It won't be live to him. When he watches it, that's going to be so funny. It'll be the whole thing will be us talking about him. See what happens? That's always the way it is, Those are the worst things about social situations. Is you have a group of people you hang out with. You realize that people talk about the one that isn't there. It's generally the way things go. And then if they're not there very much, they get talked about more and more. And their reputation suffers accordingly. It's just not fair. All right, so the sword's in the mold. It's embedded in the silicone right here. You can see it. And this mold is old. Damn, this thing is old. I think I've been running it now for 20 years, and I still have managed to nurse the original silicone, original silicone mold on and on. I've broken both sides, I think, a couple of times. And when you do that, you just have to add more plaster, you know. And in case you didn't know, that's what the steel bar is flexing. When you sit there and you pull out, you have a long, thin mold, and you have to exert a lot of force to pull it apart. You need steel reinforcement. Helps because it makes for handles, but also it's for that flexing, because once the mold cracks, and it cracks easily when it's this long and thin, you're messed up. So I've added more and more plaster to both of these. Definitely made it gain some weight too. You know, remember I was talking about how it was FGR 95, even though it's lighter than regular plaster, it's still heavier than fiberglass. If I have to do it over, I'll make it out of fiberglass. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull the rubber out with the sword, like this. But I got to be careful. The urethane has a tendency to get down into cracks and attach itself to plaster. And even though you're using wax and using separating agent, sometimes it catches catches on that stuff. And then if you pull it too fast, the silicone can rip. Now that it's really old, I don't know, 20 years or so. Probably not that old. It's probably about 12 or 15. Yeah, the rubber will tear very easily. The urethane being trapped, basically the urethane being trapped between the plaster and the silicone will cause the rubber to tear as I try to pull a sword out of the mold. So I try to nowadays carefully separate my my flashing skin from the silicone a little bit at a time, instead of just, I used to be able to just go, oh yeah, that was no problem. But that was when the silicone was young, fresh, not old and nappy. Nappy, just like our human skin will get when we get older. Not nappy, more like creepy. No accident. Crepey and creepy are very close together. Because crepey skin is creepy skin. Nobody wants crepey skin that's creepy. Creepy skin. All right, so real carefully separating. There, flopped away. Just the right amount of release agent. Ooh, this one's a good one. Sometimes I rush it and the core collapses here a little bit. There's a little bit of a depression. This one's nice and full. This one's nice and full. I just wish I could bang it on the side of something and make a bunch of rust fall off, just like Conan. Ka-ching! So I put my silicone skins, at least hang them in here. You can't just lay them around. Silicone does have some memory, or can develop a different memory, shall I say. Of course it's got memory. But it can develop a different memory if you leave it distorted and misshapen for a long time. So no, it won't perfectly conform back to the mother mold, because you allowed it to be deformed in some way or another. So I have to replace those into the molds before I put it away. And here we go. It's a good one. I'm excited. I got 3 pairs of seaming scissors. My next step is to remove my flashing. These seaming scissors seem to do a good job. I was going to use these toenail scissors. That's another one. I was complaining about those last week. Too expensive. Specialty items, that's where they get you. It's overcharged for this specialty items. Even though it's in every drugstore. Probably better if you get that stuff online. Everything's cheaper online. There's always some Chinese, wholesale place that's selling those things for $2 a piece. Something like it. Got my new shipment, a new shipment of polyfoam, way faster than I expected. And I suppose for entertainment purposes, I can pull that out and show you the material in the raw. But there's been an uptick in sword orders, even though I've been trying to stay on the down low, which isn't, I'm not helping by announcing that I'm filling sword orders. But I guess, a good project I can show for this channel is I'm working something out with AJ. Help me promote some projects of mine, and in return, I'm going to make him a beefcake. You see the top of the molds there? There's at least one. There's a spike mold, and underneath it is a crest mold. Beefcake helmet. So trade a beefcake helmet for a shit ton of promotion. He doesn't have it. He doesn't have a beefcake mold helmet. So that is a good trade. Good trade. Good trade. Meanwhile, what's going on in the chat? House of Masks, I was watching some of your videos. Was that you who gave the kid 2 Slipknot masks that made his year? Well, yeah, it wasn't me. I didn't give Slipknot a mask away, so it must have been AJ. Sounds like an AJ thing. I can't see that very well. I probably should lower my camera a little bit now. And bring it closer. Why not? Why not, my camera? Come on over and join the party. Hey, everybody. Welcome, my friend Camera. He's kind of a voyeur. He doesn't say much. But don't let him staring creep you out. Yeah. So yeah, this is the stage I go through, and the cleaner the better. But because the mold has had some blowouts, there are some somewhat miscast areas that I have to correct. And then that leaves open foam. Open foam is foam that doesn't have skin on it, like this does. See, it's nice and smooth. And so I use panel adhesive, sort of urethane. I believe it's panel foam board adhesive. Typical of something you'd probably put up, put paneling up or foam board up on your paneling or whatever. This ST plane. So that's how I'll deal with the open foam situation. When I made this mold, I took a shortcut. When you do a silicone mold, you can do it 1 part or 2 part. Generally speaking, doing one side, building walls and doing one side takes almost twice as long as to do all in one mold. So the way this mold is done, maybe I can find the tool because that would be cool. The way this mold was done was the entire sculpture was coated with brushed on silicone. Coat after coat coat after coat of brushed on silica. And then it was reinforced with burlap. You use burlap under some of the coats of silicone. And what that helps do is break down the tearing. Cut down on the tendency of a mold to want to tear. And after these molds have been around for a while, they just naturally start splitting. And you can see here's a spot right here. And that's probably hard to see. You can see there's a spot right there. Is it too high contrasty there? Hard to see. But there's a split right here. And those kind of splits have to be repaired. If there wasn't burlap behind it, it would have just kept going and going. It would have easily tore right through the mold. So anyways, the silicone is applied in coats, and then there's a few layers of burlap put in there. And there's advantages and disadvantages to the whole burlap thing, but it's just one way of doing things, and especially works for, like I said, those all-in-one, no wall mold. And then the mold, I hope I can find it. Special tool. Shoot. Build my water. It's called a key mold. Key knife. Damn it. And of course, we didn't know it. It's not readily available. I'll have to look for it some other time. But essentially, it's a knife that has a half loop in it. So imagine a knife and then somebody bent it over a rod and then flattened it out again. So it's like, whoop, okay. And when you slit the mold along your whatever seam line you've decided you want, it leaves a groove. It leaves a groove for the other side of the mold, to set into. It's without, normally you would sculpt that when you did your walls for a two-part mold, but by going with a key knife, you can get around that. Some people don't even bother with key knives anymore. They're kind of archaic. A lot of people just take a regular knife and they just zigzag it, which is what you can do. You can just sort of make sure that your cut is got a lot of zigzags in it, and then that's what holds your slit mold, registers it. Right? But nothing quite beats the registration of a two-part mold. So here's an example. Here's a sleazy sculpt, and it's a figurine statue. And you see, I've got all these holes. They're all pre-sculpted in. And, I'm going to pour my halves. I've got a trench also. It helps keep the plastic from leaching out the edges and sides. Also, but that has its disadvantages. If you use wet clay as your clay wall building material, what happens is the wet clay will shrink ever so slightly between one side and the other. So often you just have a slight little registration hiccup. A slit mold won't have that. A slit mold will have other issues, but it will not have that slight registration difference due to clay wall shrinking. Now you can do it the slow way. More, you could make your clay wall out of oil-based clay, and you won't have that issue. But you're making them clay wall out of oil-based clay. And if you ever worked with oil-based clay, you know that it's just tons slower. Just a real drag to have to work with oil-based clay. You got to heat it up. You got to, you got to flatten it out and shape it the way you want. And it's just, and it's really hard to smooth. Oil-based clay, you want to smooth it out to get your walls nice and neat, and it's a nightmare. It really is. You got to use something petroleum-based to flatten it out. So, you go on online, you see how to make molds, like on Polytech and Smooth On, and they have lots of great tutorials. And that's where I recommend for real how where to go get lessons. But it's like this is just the way I do it. This is the way I did it. I wouldn't do it this way now. So, but this is the way I did it, and these are things that you can learn from. My dad always said about things that didn't kill me. Good experience. Good experience. That was everything. Anything went bad. It took me a long time to understand what he meant. Good experience. Good experience. You didn't die. It was good experience. Anything that didn't kill you. Good experience. So. Now, it's nothing like learning a lesson a slow, long, hard way. I think that it's better. It's lessons better learned. That's for sure. Now I'm changing over to my seam and scissors, and makes it easier to go around these curves here. Cutting my, well, I'm gonna spill this drink for sure. And much hilarity. You want to sit closer. Should have known. I had two pairs of toenail scissors. One was completely shot, and one had a good edge. Of course, the one with the good edge was the one that was all junky and cruddy looking. Which makes sense. It means I was using it more lately. Blue automotive silicone. A clean pair of scissors is a neglected pair of scissors. Is Coof here yet? Coof, we're still ridiculing you. We're still ridiculing you, Coof. Let it be known. We've almost decided to take a vote, kicking you out of the club. The free club. You're free to leave at any time. That one. Yes. Poor Coof. Man, he doesn't know what he's missing. You could be watching this guy cut flashing off a sword, man. So cool. Wow, man. See the way he cut that up? Wow. I'm the Bob Ross. Effects. That's what I want to be. Bob Ross of special effects, folks. This isn't really a special effect, is it? This is cosplay. Cosplay. Yeah, the techniques they use now. Always stuff we've always been interested in. And then you really put it through the ringer, as far as the noir ringer, and none of the cosplay techniques hold up. Guar props are like, take something that's, made of foam and got lots of projections and spiky bits all over it, and have a paint job on it. And take it and throw it in a swimming pool and leave it there overnight. Take it out, beat it on the ground, leave it out in the sun, dry out, and drag it across concrete, and then repeat that whole cycle for 6 months. And then tell me what your cosplay, carefully built cosplay costume looks like. So we just found basically it was, despite all the limitations of, remember I was talking about the latex versus the polyfoam thing, despite all the limitations of latex, there wasn't really anything more durable. We made lots of parts out of fiberglass. We'd have fiberglass pieces incorporated into costumes, but fiberglass always chipped and cracked, no matter what. You know, we're just like, oh well, you know, you just didn't use, your technique wasn't as good as it should have been. Yeah, the exterior, your shell was not quite as reinforced. You know, you didn't use enough woven, you used too much chopped. You know, all this stuff I was come up with. But ultimately, latex always there for you. Yeah, it might not hold its shape as perfectly as it used to, and maybe those corners and edges aren't as sharp as if they had been made out of fiberglass. But latex, the polyfoam backing, always there for. And didn't matter. Didn't matter if you just fished it out of the swimming pool and you didn't even have time to let it dry. Still good. It didn't look good. It looked passably good. Passably good. Adequate. Serviceable. Always serviceable. Take edges down. That's going to be an area there. See, that's my one of my screw holes where my foam ejected out of the mold, vented, ejected, and so it's open. It's open cell, and that will have to be repaired. That will need repair. Sword distortions from old molds. Getting old. Old mold, won't you look at my life and Lord like you? I need someone to cover me with silicone glue. Almost there. Almost there. Here's one of those areas where silicone tearing, causing casting distortions. To require repair. Luckily, it just looks like a beat up, rusty old medieval sword edge, which is cool. In fact, I put the seam, slit seam that was uneven, you know, like, see what happened was I couldn't get my knife key mold line straight into the sculpted edge. There was something I could have done about that. I didn't go through with it, and that is you can take say toothpicks, put them in there and right in the edge, and then you just try to follow the toothpicks. It'll help act as a guide. You still won't have a perfect edge. That's why doing a mold like this would have been better to do a clay wall bed, embed it in that, and but here's my problem. This piece, the sculpt was clay. It was wet clay, so it would have been wet clay and wet clay, which I can do. Just a bitch, just demolding the other side, taking the wet clay off and not having something go wrong. This is where I've had most deterioration, say, in torn, distorted mold. All right, next step. Looks like battle damage. That's what I say. I learned that in art school. Always have an excuse for your mistakes. Conceptual rationalization is your obvious failure. Technical execution. Oh, perfect. Oh, the gods are with us. There's no need for a second recut. There's no lip there. Just perfect. Now, we got to get our goo on. Ah! Wrong goo. That sounds like a sidekick for a bad guy in a Johnny Quest episode. Wrong goo. Get the Komodo dragons. Follow me. All right. This is right goo. Right goo's on our side. Right goo's here to help. What is it? It's liquid nails. Fuse it max. 5 times stronger. Initial grab and hold. Hybrid technology bonds almost everything. Bonds it anyway. Well, I find it setting up a little faster than a lot of them. And that's why I kind of learned to like it. Some of these guys, man, it takes forever to set up. It's the worst. I had to go to a regular hardware store to get regular rubber gloves, man. I'm pissed. $15 for 100. That's insane. That is insane, man. I went to my usual pull off the back of the truck outlet store, which is Foremost Sales, and those bastards, they were selling gloves that were more expensive. It's like, what are you kidding me? You have extra smalls. All right? Only Muppets can wear extra smalls. Jesus, and you're asking $18 for a box of 100. I'm out of here. Like, that's it. That's the last time I'm going in there. All I ever would get was just like they have party cups from some store, so I could use them to mix. They have reasonably cheap rubber gloves. These got rubber gloves were $3 a box, and they had a 33% discount at the door. So I was getting them $2 a box, and that was gold. The golden days of Foremost Sales. Gone. That's up just a little bit more. Where are my bad spots? I got paper plate. Ah, looks like there's some dried up in there. That's what she said. Actually, he could have said that too. I think either one of them could have said it. He should all agree on that. Damn it. This thing's not coming out. This plug is not coming out. It's been in my tool. Yeah, my tool. Not matrix. That's just a dry plug of glue. I need a hook. I need a bar. We need something. See, and then when I squeeze, it won't come out because the same plug will come to a stop. Ah! Yeah. Exactly. Break this up. It's the little problems you never take into account. During the time estimation. I spent 2 days getting a plug out of my glue stem. I guess I break my blade. Oh, I got it! Nothing more satisfying. Come on. Oh, you telling me there's still more in there? I think that's what's happening. I got part. Celebrate too soon. And still, it's just going around it. I think I got it now. Yeah, I got it. Watch it slowly ooze out. And try not to be aroused. All right. This is the worst though. Hit this one first. Sign Proof Jackson yet? That's a big hole. Heavy duty trim. No, the camera's as close as it's going to get. I'll have to move closer. More goo, please. More. It's my Kylo Ren impersonation. Oh, I should have done this one part last. What's going to happen is while I'm working on another part, I'm going to brush this big part up against myself. And happens every time. The areas you're least likely to touch first. The areas you're most likely to touch. Another lesson from Donnie Don't. Donnie Don't. I always do it wrong first. Explain to your wife wrong. Just think of how useless this information is for you. How would I ever be filling swords with glue? Sleazy. What is this thing? You just never know. Is that unlicensed app thing popping up right in my camera, or is it just what I see? Anybody see that? This so needs narration by David Attenborough or Morgan Freeman. This old craftsman working alone in the studio. He's in his element. Should have cleaned my blade. Should have cleaned my spreader better. Hey, I like that. Spreader better. That's why I love him, her, Zimzer. I love saying that. Just sounds good. Better spreader. Him, her, Zimzer, better spreader. Hey, everybody. Tired of lousy spreaders that discriminate against transgender people? Get the him, her, Zimzer, better spreader. You won't have a problem with depression again. Oh, God. Don't do it, Don. Don't fuck up that repair. I'm gonna do it. I know it's gonna happen. Can't see that. Shot. Now up here at the handle, our notorious venting screw hole. And you can also see a pretty pronounced seam. There was some heavy seamage on top. What do I do with my fingers? I don't know why Benny Hill theme popped in my head. Definitely not appropriate. This is serious business. This is not a fat guy being chased around by hot babes in lingerie. This is serious business. Can't fuck it up. Don't. Too many people watching. 20 people watching. It's too much pressure. That was an open cell here. The really important part is on top. What with the dowel, a freshly cut dowel up there. Open cell. I said more. Top here. What have I got? Oh. Ah. touch the handle. That's about it. If people don't like it, fuck them. They can send it back. They won't. I love it too much. Especially with my cool autograph on it. Yeah, there's some semen and shit right there. Did I let that side touch something? Motherfucker, I bet it didn't. Only thing I can allow it to touch the tip. Got some goo on it. I'm gonna fuck up. Almost did it. Almost touched it. There's a seam down here I gotta get. I'm gonna do it without touching my one of those pre-done parts. Good enough. Good enough. Right there. And somehow I didn't fuck up that spot we're talking. It's all because of you, crackheads. Your judgmental eyes. Waiting for me to fuck up. Gave me the extra motivation not to. And unfortunately, that's a stopping point. But I guess there's I was talking about, making of molds or show molds. Did Coof Jackson ever show up? Where's Tesla? He came down here for a minute. He's just looking for a way out, Ross. To see if they come. He won't. He doesn't come when you call him. He just comes whenever he feels like it. You know how cats are. Tesla, do you want to go outside, Tesla? I'm lying to you, Tesla. No. No sign. Sorry, Ross. Good to see ya. We're missing from the bunker. We noticed. We all notice when you're missing. Scrooge McDuck. Scrooge McDuck, we miss you. Kitty Huffing Fumes, yeah. That's also a good name for a band. I'd say a post-punk girl band. All-girl post-punk band, like that. But playing sort of a thrash metal. Post-punk thrash metal, all-girl band. Kitty Huffing Fumes. Like that. So here is pieces of the beefcake mold. So this is one I remember talking about how you can do your molds in one piece, cut them, or you can do your molds, build walls, and have two parts. So here's the two part. These are the spikes that go on top of the beefcake helmet, and you can see how you can take your time and get your registration, really, just perfect. You know that when you put this together, it's not going to be It's not going to be a jar. It's just not. But unfortunately, as I said before, when you build your clay walls, between the two halves, there's always a little bit of shrinkage. And so have just a slight difference in your registration in your line. Registration line. Let's see. Which could be interesting. Oh no! Just animals don't fall over. So good old mold straps. Like I said, what would we have done without them? We had to learn these things. And people who weren't necessarily into special effects, as a matter of fact. But anyways, this is kind of a combo. I don't know why there's a plastic bottle in here. This was a combo of two kinds of molds, right? So the plaster mother is two-part. In other words, we built a clay wall between the two halves. And it's FTR 95 plaster mother. But the silicone mold inside is a one-piece. It's a one-piece knife slit mold. It doesn't even go all the way up through the mold, although unfortunately, it's got a situation where it's got a migrating cut. So in other words, you cut it to this point, but silicone, once it starts to age, and especially when it's has something really caustic like fiberglass being used on it, as opposed to urethane, which isn't as caustic as silicone. It has a tendency to become more brittle and split and crack. So you can see how that slit is traveling farther than it was supposed to. Probably, if I'd have seen that coming, I would have built a extra heavy-duty burlap wall that would have stopped it right at that point. But so it's just a one piece, and so when I fiberglass it, I have to fiberglass it by reaching down in here and doing it, a bit at a time, which is a hassle. But by not having it two-part, I know that I'm going to have a good, well-shaped. That's probably a lie. I don't want my seam line going right down the middle as part of it, but also it saved a lot of time during the silicone process, just applying silicone. Silicone takes a long time to do. You got to do it in basically two-hour stages, a coat at a time, and you end up. This one I cheated on. I'd say this has a lot less silicone than it should have. So I was cheaping out on the material. Material's expensive. That's another thing. Silicone's expensive, time-consuming to use, but once you have a mold, what one of the great advantages of it is the ease of demolding, and the overall durability of the mold is usually pretty good. And you get a lot of castings. That's why we did the last Odorous Urungus mask. Me and Matt made it out of silicone. Turned out a lot of people made money on the side with that. People were using that mold to cast copies of the Odorous mask. A lot of commissions for that. So it was a good thing, because all it takes is one person, and I won't tell you who it is, but he's this lead singer, would fuck up molds left and right by forgetting to add release agents. And once you cast polyfoam, or especially with polyfoam and latex together, and you don't have release agent, you try to demold, it's a disaster. Stuff gets broken. A lot of broken molds. A lot of broken molds. We decided we'll make it idiot-proof for the lead singer, so that you can't break it. It's silicone. It's not that he's dumb. Let's put it that way. He wasn't. He's just forgetful for obvious reasons. Distracted. The lead singer. He's got a lot on his mind. He's a little distracted. That's all. I got to fix that. I got to fix that little cloth. Maybe we should do it right now. Right in front of you guys. Wouldn't you be blown away by that? That's another mode silicone. Yeah, man. Mode silicone, man. Fix that up right. I'm fixing it over, man. My boom house. Oh no! I let my mode silicone dry up. Another two. I do. Is it dried up? Yes, it is. Oh well. Just have to get some more some other time. Some other time when AutoZone is open, I'll be there with a debit card. Mr. Cake's helmet always looked heavy, and it was heavy, Alex. It was. And it was. I tried so many things to lighten it up. And never could really get it light enough. The problem is like you could make it lighter if you go with something like even fiberglass, man. I tried making it out of fiberglass. It was brittle. That design is brittle. You have spikes, you drop it on a spike, it's gonna snap. Fiberglass, it's just not going to hold together. Especially something where you've got it bring it to a point like that. So I started trying to make it out of polyfoam. Latex and polyfoam is the best for those. But the way that mold's made, it takes too long to do, I forgot what, 6 of those? 8 of those? The paint job won't stay bright and metallic-y for very long. You know? I don't know why I'm looking at the screen instead of looking at the camera. Any questions? I'm gonna head out. It's almost 11, and work on some other stuff. I keep the liquid nails from drying up. To keep the liquid nails from drying up again, is there something you can shove into the nozzle? Yeah, there is, Michelle. Usually I do a tape coverage, but here's the problem with shoving something into the nozzle, and I don't know why they do this, but you can see it's pointier as it's and so whatever dries in there is impossible to get out. Funnels down, so if something dries in there, get it out. I think does the nozzle screw off? It does. So you can cap that and clean out your nozzle. And try to take good care of it. Fuck that! Too much work. I'll just put tape over it like I did before, and then dig the plug out again like I did before. Sounds good to me. Here's my Gorilla tape. No Coof Jackson. None. Coof to be found. Where is it? Gorilla tape. Used to know. Used to know what I'm doing with these ones. Just gonna have to go with drafting tape. Inferior, unsightly. I'm good. There you have it. Just took it to another level, folks. Got a lot of polyfoams. So yeah, I think this beefcake helmet would be a good project. Do not look forward to this. This has to be fiberglass, unfortunately. And I probably will just not even film me doing this, putting fiberglass in this shell, because it'll take too long. So better to just unmold it, and do the other pieces live on camera, final assembly and things like that. The fiberglass is toxic. I'll have to do it outside too. That's another issue. Harder to set this rig up for the live streaming. All right, guys. Thanks for showing up, and say hello to Give Us a Brocky Story, says Wicked Corpse Designs. Huh. Trigger a Brocky story. Can never think of them. I'm just forced to think of them. He let me stay in his space in the dairy when the winter got at its absolute worst, because they were the only ones who had a reasonably good heating system. I had a wood-burning stove. Talk about crazy. We had a wood-burning stove inside of a downtown industrial building. It's just crazy. Talk about fire hazards. But, problem with wood-burning stove is the wood goes out within a few hours. It loses heat. So over the course of the night, it's going to be right back to basically ice cold, because this building had no heat. So Dave was nice enough to let me crash on his couch, because they had, I think I had some sort of oil furnace thing, and it was running all night. And that was nice of him. No, sorry, it's not a ant snorting story, defecating on his hands and wiping it on the walls. Just nice enough to let me crash in the studio when that winter was at its absolute worst. How's that? That's what I got for you. That's my Brocky story. Just a sweet sort of he was a nice guy. Let me crash on his couch in the winter. He didn't have to. There's 3 other people living in there, by the way. It was Mike Bonner and Colette. So there's already a fair amount of people there. So that's that. Did he ever break a prop on stage, says Michelle Bude? Yeah, they break lick, that sword of his, all the time. Big wood dowel, but you have a lot of heavy latex on it, so you hit it at the midpoint. All that extra weight on the wood dowel, it's just likely to break at some point. Or it doesn't help that it gets wet. It stays wet. The wood just stays wet. It gains weight. Probably loses some of its strength. So just snap it. You'd hit it against the gorgor or something. Hit it on the edge of a monitor probably while pretending to wave it at the fans. But most weapons broke at some point while being swung around on stage. Interesting. I don't know why. You'd think we'd be able to make them strong enough for that to not happen. But just underestimate what they go through, I guess, during the course of a tour. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. I got to get more regular with this. I don't know when that'll be. I got to get more regular. Trying to get in the camera. I got to get more regular with this. Like, you had to see that. You had to see me say that, right? So, no, I mean it. All right, I'll talk to you later. Everybody make fun of Coof Jackson for me. I'm out.